Donald Trump, he's like a good stand-up comic. He's got his go-tos and he tries out a little bit of new material at every event. And so he decided he threw a dartboard at the dictionary and he hit the Great Lakes, and then this happened.
I support the Great Lakes. Always have. They're beautiful. They're big, very deep. Record deepness, right?
I mean, look, I'm telling you, there's gonna be a day. It's gonna be a day when the country is gonna be back to sanity, but it has to be a long time, like 12 years, 20 years from now, where we look back and laugh at this and go, I know, man, we were on the edge of our seat, we almost lost the country. But remember when a president was stupid enough to go on and go, hey, I like the Great Lakes. Like, who's anti-Great Lakes, right? But I don't know if you guys knew this, but they're deep, very deep.
Oh, record deepness.
Record deepness.
Right.
Record deepness.
Yeah.
Just like his intellect.
Yeah. There's no need to actually explain factually how ridiculous what he said is there, right there.
Or that he didn't say depth.
That he didn't say depth, but we're going to. What he was talking about was the Great Lakes Renewal Initiative, which is apparently a pretty expensive ongoing project that's been funded for many years, something like a $300 million project that he, in his budget, proposed cutting by 90%. So it turns out he doesn't actually support the Great Lakes as much as he wants you to think.
Yeah, in fact, so the only person who doesn't support the Great Lakes is him.
Right.
And he's unbelievable. What a unreal con man. So, but get a load of this scam, and he's done this a number of times now. So the budget was 300 million, he cut it to 30 million, and then later comes out in the midst of all this and goes, you know what? I like the Great Lakes so much, I might increase that budget from 30 to 300. You're the one who got it. You're the one who got it.
Yeah.
And so he just did it with the Special Olympics just yesterday. They were gonna cut the entire federal portion of the budget, which is $17.6 million, and then he comes out and goes, I love the Special Olympics so much, I'm gonna fund it. I'm gonna fund the whole, I'm gonna put the money in. Yeah, it was in like a day ago before you cut it, right? Even DeVos came out and was like, I secretly wanted it, somebody else had cut it. Gee, I wonder who that might be, right? So, and with the DACA recipients, when he's running for office, dreamers, big, beautiful dreamers, I'm in favor. Turns around, cuts the dreamers and their rights, and then goes, okay, now you're gonna have to negotiate to get the dreamers back. It's Trump 101.
Yeah.
And so, and he's playing with people's lives. And so is he gonna actually put the 300 million back? No one knows, you can't. I mean, he changes his mind every single minute, and he's making policy decisions based on how record deepness something has, you know?
Well, look, thankfully, there's now a Democratic Congress, so he doesn't have unilateral control over what's in that budget, which is both reassuring that you actually have some people that are relatively responsible that'll be involved in that decision, but also makes some of these proposed cuts even more grotesque, because it's one thing to cut $17 million from the Special Olympics and want to put the money somewhere else, and to actually do it and you get the money. It's another thing to propose the cut when there's no way it's gonna go through. The Democrats are never gonna allow it in the House. You know you can't get the money, but you want people to know that you wanted to cut the Special Olympics. How sick is that?
Well, he also thinks he can lie his way through anything. So,
and it also makes him look strong to come back and say, I told my people that I don't want to do that. You know, I'm the one they're going to listen to, and the money, the Special Olympics aren't going anywhere, because it sort of, burnishes his image in front of his people.
Yeah, and goes along with I alone can protect you.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, having said that, that requires one layer of strategy. So that's probably not what happened.
Yeah.
They probably cut it. They're like, who cares about Special Olympics? Then they got caught and they're like, oh yeah, sure, yeah.
But he's also
I'm putting it back in. I'm telling my people.
But he's fascinated by the one-liner politics, as you know, and that was no money for disabled athletes. Bad, right? And so it didn't. There was no thought about where the money was going to go, why it had been cut. Where is it? This is not what a part of this. It's just that sounds bad. It looks bad. Bad image. change it, right? I'll tell my people. And that's the same thing with everything. But he thinks some of these lines, like the ones about wind just now, are great for his people to hear. When he found out that Republicans also have disabled children, maybe this isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, part of the reason why they did criminal justice reform, when they thought it was largely minorities who were using drugs, they're like, lock them up, throw away the key. Oh my God, white people are hooked on painkillers and OxyContin? Hey, wait a minute, we gotta do criminal justice. Well, why are we sending these people to prison? This is crazy.
Yeah.
But to be fair to the president, he is an expert on water. Because remember,
nobody knows more about water than he does.
No, almost nobody does. Nobody does. Because remember, he's the one that deduced that Puerto Rico was an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
With he didn't even know that. Actually, in this hemisphere, the point of most deepness is the Puerto Rican Trench, which is in the Atlantic, and he didn't even mention
record deepness.
No, sorry, second deepest. Deepest is the Great Lakes.
Right.
Yeah,
which has record deepness.
Which Great Lake, Mr. President, and how many are there? Right?
That's a good point. And again, this is needless additional information that he doesn't know, that his fans won't care about. They're not the deepest lakes in the world. They're not even the deepest lakes in America. They're great. They're superior in many ways. They're not the deepest.
You just gave one away to him.
I know, I did. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, they're not the deepest lakes.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
His crowd loves superlatives, and the one thing we are underestimating is that his crowd is just as dumb as he is. So they might think, oh yeah, well that's obviously the record deepness, and that's obviously very important. And Donald Trump obviously is the only one that could protect the Great Lakes after he destroys the Great Lakes. And we had to destroy the village to save the village, and same thing with the Great Lakes. And they might have been actually taken aback, like, and islands are surrounded by water? Man, this guy's a genius.
Right.
Like, we look at it from our perspective and go, who doesn't know that? They look at it from their perspective like, people knew that?